Hey guys, Akil Stokes here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about 6 great books on technical analysis and break them down by category from like good for beginners to good for the very advanced. Now, before we hop in, I want to remind you guys that this is another video episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. So if you're not doing so already, make sure you follow the show over on Spotify. I believe they're the only platform that shares the audio and the visual version. If not, you can always head over to the YouTube channel as well. Also, I want to give a shout out to the 600 traders who attended the Trader Mastery Workshop this past week. As you can tell, the voice isn't fully back, but I'm slowly getting there. But so glad you enjoyed yourself. We haven't done a 3-day workshop in a while, and it was a blast. Sorry for missing day 3. I had an annual Thanksgiving fundraiser that I had to take part in, but Jason assured me that it was a great day, perhaps the best day of all 3, which makes me feel a little bit uneasy because the best day was the day that I wasn't there. Anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, and I'm so excited to work with you guys over the next year or so and hopefully help you achieve those trading goals. Anyway, let's hop in. So, my kids have been home from school for the past 7 days. It's been cold outside, and they are absolutely going crazy and going nuts, and we're running out of things to do. So, today, I tasked them with the activity of start working on your Christmas list. And it made me think about your Christmas list, and we're going to have you start working on yours today as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out, or what I did do is I picked out 6 of my favorite books on the subject of technical analysis, right? So we're not talking about trading books in general. We're not talking about psychology. We're not talking about any of the other stuff, strictly technical analysis. And what I wanted to do is I want to categorize them based on, I guess, where I feel they lie on the scale of being recommended to beginner traders. So like easy to, hey, you probably shouldn't look at this until you have some experience in the market, advanced, and of course in the middle where it's like, you know, the thing that all the kids are doing, that, right? And also very important, right? Because I am yet one man with one opinion, and many of these books I read kind of after I was already on my trading journey, if you are someone who has read these books as well, I would really value, and the Trading Coach Podcast community would really value if you shared your opinion below. Not just if the book was good or not, but more importantly, would you recommend it to a newer trader? Would you recommend it for a trader who's kind of in the middle of their journey, or would you save it for an advanced trader? And of course, if you have any other book recommendations that you believe should be on this list, leave it in the comment section below as well, but make sure you kind of define it by easy, medium, or hard. That way our traders can look for the appropriate book based on the appropriate situation that they're in. So let's start off with book number 1. And just as we spoke about in the workshop, if you are someone who is looking to read and decipher the story that the market tells you, you got to start at the very beginning, right? It's really hard. Let's put it this way. You can't write a book without chapters. You can't write chapters without paragraphs. You can't write paragraphs without sentences. You can't write sentences without words. And you can't write words without letters. So we're going to start at the very basics and talk about Japanese candlesticks. So this book right here, Japanese Candlestick Charting Techniques, 2nd edition by Steve Nison, is a great book, and I put it under the easy category. And keep in mind, when I say easy, I mean easy, not just the concepts in the book, but it's easily read as well. There are some books out there that they do a lot of mumble jumble, and although the concepts could be very easy to understand, they word it in a way that just makes your brain explode. So this is both. This is a very easy read. It's also very easy concepts. And the concepts of this book, they're going to talk about the very basics of technical analysis, a little bit of like the history of Japanese candlesticks, where they came from, how are they made, why they're important. And more importantly, it's going to give you a handful of examples of very important individual candlestick patterns, along with very important candlestick combinations. So multiple candlesticks together, 2 or 3, something like that. It even goes into teaming them with indicators. So if you're new to the charts, if you're new to the markets, if you want to kind of take the basic approach of going back to the very beginning, which is something I highly recommend, this is a really good read. No better place to start than with the very basics. So book number 2, Trading, a Technical Analysis Masterclass. Now, I'm going to admit, I am a little bit biased, right? This book written by Rolf and Moritz, right? These are two of my favorite people in the world. Not just traders, but people in the world. They were awesome individuals. If you guys ever heard of Trade Society, these are the guys behind Trade Society. Lots of awesome software like Edgewonk, lots of awesome material out there. They're very easily understandable. And of course, when they wrote a book, I had to check it out. Now, this book came out in 2019, so I was already about a decade into being a consistently profitable trader. But I would tell you this. If I had an opportunity to read this book as a brand new trader, I think it would be one of the best introductory reads out there. Now, this is a very easily readable book, meaning if you are someone that gets confused and overwhelmed by small print and funny looking charts and just a lot of technical jargon that makes your head explode, this is not one of them. This is as dumbed down as possible. Now, that's why I think it's such a good book for a new trader. It's going to cover everything from kind of like the basics of crowd psychology, so market psychology, the very basics of technical analysis, charting techniques, stuff like that, structure, classic patterns, and even some indicators. Now, it doesn't give you everything, right? Which could be looked at as good or bad, meaning that you're only going to get a handful of things to focus on. It's not going to go over every indicator or every classic pattern formation. It's going to give you hand-picked ones to focus on, but that's why I think it's good for a newer trader, because as a newer trader, if you were to learn everything, right? If you were to try to, read through the encyclopedia of chart patterns front to back and memorize every single pattern in here, your brain would explode, and that would defeat the purpose, and you'd have quite a mess to clean up if you were still alive. I guess your next of kin would have quite a mess to clean up. It would be nasty anyway, it wouldn't be good. So I think the fact that it decides to concentrate on a few different things is great for a newer trader, because it gives you an introduction. It gives you a way to kind of master a few basic concepts, and it gives you enough to get going but not be a danger to yourself. So certainly recommend this. This is number 2 under the easy category. Now we're going to move to the medium category. I don't have a cover on this because it was during a phase where I thought it was cool to take covers off my books, and then I got out of that phase very, very quickly. But this is Trade What You See by Larry Pesavento. This was a book that I read very early on in my trading career, and I found it to be very helpful. The main focus of this book is going to be market geometry, so harmonics. Now, I'm not just talking about only advanced patterns and stuff like that, but harmonics like AB equals CD patterns as well, and different moves that the market makes, how the market moves harmonically in a flow. Now, the reason I put it in the medium category versus the easy category is because just in general, the topic of harmonics, the topic of geometry in the market, the topics of Fibonacci's and stuff like that, that's a little bit intimidating for some traders, right? If we're talking, pure price action, that's one thing. Candlestick patterns is one thing. Once we start talking more kind of ebby and flowy type of stuff, I think it does take it to another level. I would say this though, just aside from the technical jargon, this book does do a good job of kind of introducing you into the idea of how to think in probabilities, risk and money management, and even how to treat your trading like a business. So if you're someone that thinks you're going to take the harmonic route, AB equals CD patterns, Gartley's, bats, stuff like that, I think it's a really good book for you. Book number 2 in the medium category is going to be Naked Forex. And by the way, when I say book number 2, I'm not ranking one over the other. It's simply the way that I put them in this stack over here. But Naked Forex. Now, real quick, this is safe for kids. It says Naked Forex, but in general in the industry, when we talk about naked trading, we talk about naked charts. I mean, there's not a lot of indicators or fancy things on them. It's understanding pure price action. Funny story, Jason and myself actually recorded a course called the Naked Trading Course, where we did the entire presentation completely in the nude. It was going to be a free course that we launched on YouTube, but YouTube quickly shut that down for reasons I can only suspect is that we were giving away too much awesome information for free. Nothing to do with the nakedness, I'm sure. Yeah. Anyway, this book was written by Walter Peters and a guy that I always forget, Alex Nekritin. You can read it down here. And it was another book that came out, I don't remember the year, but it came out after I was already a mature trader. So it's often hard for me to judge books like this because by the time I read this book, I had a little bit of a different understanding of the markets where I was able to really understand a lot of these concepts really well, but I'm not sure if I were a brand new beginner trader if I would, and that's what stops it from being in the beginner category. Aside from that, it's a very easy read. The graphics, the charts are, hopefully open up a chart, are nice and understandable. So not a difficult read at all, but the concepts are a little bit more advanced than kind of the stuff we spoke about in the beginning category. This book is great because it does spend some time introducing you to currencies and Forex trading. It talks about the importance of things like back testing and building a strategy, but the core of the book is centered around very specific chart patterns and strategies that the authors use. So again, as a naked trader in my own right, I really enjoyed this book because it really mimicked a lot of the things that I was using in my personal trading. So again, a little bit biased just because it related to my trading style. Again, maybe not great for the brand new trader, but if you do have some experience in understanding candlestick patterns, understanding support, resistance, in general, understanding how to read a price chart, I do think it's a really good read that you'll take some cool stuff from. Now we move to the advanced categories, and I got one here. This is going to be Technical Analysis and Stock Market Profits by Richard W. Schabacker. And this is a book that was originally written in 1932. Now it was republished, I think this one is 1997 or something like that, but it is a really old classic book. It's an oldie, but it's also a goodie. It's also a great example that classic chart patterns, classic charting principles have worked and have stood the test of time from all the way back when to all the way here now. So for all of you guys that think the markets go through these drastic changes as far as like classic patterns and classic candlestick formations, you're wrong. It does the same thing because as human beings, we tend to think and act the same way. Now, there are a few reasons that I put this in the advanced category. One is the charting examples. If I can find one real quick for you, you can see, because it's an older book, the examples that you see in this book of charts are very difficult to understand, right? To give you an example, we can take a look at one of them from the Masterclass book here where the concepts are a little bit easier, a little bit more well written out. These ones are difficult. They're really graphy and gritty, and they can be a little bit confusing. And for someone who is personally a visual learner myself, I find it a little bit difficult to really grasp the concepts when they're not supported by a good visual. So I don't know if you're the same, but that was something that kind of made it a little bit more difficult for me, especially if I was a newer trader. On a positive note though, right, this book pretty much covers everything that you want to know about technical analysis, right? We're talking about simple patterns, we're talking about complex patterns, we're talking about reversal patterns, continuation patterns, we're talking about trend lines, support, resistance. I don't think there's much indicators in here. There may be, it's been a while since I looked through it, but different time frames, multiple time frame analysis, right? This is going to cover a lot about technical analysis, so I do think it's a great book. However, with that being said, this is going to cover a lot about technical analysis. So with the Masterclass book, where I said one of the benefits of this is that it only focuses on a few concepts, which makes it easily digestible, this book focuses on a lot of them. So if you're someone that is looking to use this book as a front to back read, be prepared to be overwhelmed or at least have a plan to really digest this book, eat this book in bite-sized chunks. I don't think you want to go front to back and just read it straight through because you're going to overwhelm yourself. What I used this book for, and this was a later pickup in my career, I think I picked this up in like 2018 or something like that, is I used it as kind of like a reference guide, like to reinforce concepts that I was learning or relearning at the time. So for example, I learned about head and shoulders patterns when I was a really young trader, but I never actually used them, right? I wasn't ready for them at that point in time. But as I got older, as I got comfortable in my trading style, and I went back to kind of relearn some of the older concepts, right? I did want to focus on the head and shoulders pattern. So when I had this book, I strictly went to the Head and Shoulders section. I read about it, I used it, and I used that to help my trading. So I didn't read this book from front to back. I kind of went to the sections that I was planning on learning about and used it that way. I think that's the best way to go about it versus reading it from front to back. Now, the final book in the advanced section, and this happens to be my favorite book of all time. If you've listened to me for years, you already know what it is. Boom! The Art and Science of Technical Analysis by Adam Grimes. I love it. By the way, there's also a course online, I believe. I don't remember the website, but a YouTube channel, or marketlife.com, maybe try that, or Adam Grimes, that supports this book. So if you're someone that's looking to read this book and get extra support, check that out as well. I didn't personally do that. I looked at the course after reading the book because I didn't know it existed. But that's a good way to kind of team it as well. Now, in general, and I'm gonna get a little blushy here, so forgive me, right? But Adam Grimes is an extremely intelligent human being, not just when it comes to trading, but other stuff as well. I think he's a culinary artist. I think he plays the piano and different music. He's just like a genius. But the cool thing about that is, despite him being very smart, he's able to write in what I think is a very understandable way, right? You know, sometimes people are so smart that they write stuff and they do it in such a smart way that us dumb people can't understand it. He does write intelligently, but it's also not so intelligently that it goes over your head. Now, again, this is one that I do not recommend to newer traders. That's why it's in the advanced section, because I do think you will become overwhelmed. I don't think you're going to grasp the concepts. I think you need a solid foundation in technical analysis before you're able to appreciate what he talks about in this book. I think I read this about 5 or 6 years into my trading career. But for those who are kind of advanced or experienced in the market, I think this is a book that can help you take your concepts to another level. And for me personally, it allowed me to kind of look at the market and understand the market in a different way. And it certainly elevated my trading to the next level. Concepts of these books, they're going to talk about the general principles of technical analysis or general principles of reading a chart. They're going to go into deep dives into kind of like specific price patterns. There's going to be trade management. There's going to be trading psychology. There's going to be back testing. There's going to be journaling. There's going to be the kind of the full course of what you need to know about technical analysis in this book. And the most important thing for me was that it talks about it from a discretionary perspective, hence the title, The Art and Science. Meaning that when I was growing up, it was, you know, a lot of traders kind of poo-pooed, or a lot of people I saw out there poo-pooed discretionary trading, meaning that you have the ability to interpret the market. It was kind of like, hey, it has to be this exact same way every single time. And that just wasn't my trading style. So to find someone that was extremely successful, to find someone that was extremely intelligent and really quantitative based, right? He's fully based on numbers. To find someone that also supported, like, hey, there is going to be some subjectivity. There is discretion involved. It just gave me a lot more confidence in that. The fact that I could be a successful trader without being purely mechanical. And that was really, really big for me. So there go your 6 books. Hope you enjoyed. Again, if you are someone that read any of these books, there are Japanese Candlesticks, there are Trade Mastery Class, there is Trade What You See, Naked Forex, Technical Analysis and Stock Market Profits, and The Art and Science of Technical Analysis. Do me a favor, leave a comment below. Let our trading community know what you thought of the book, but also let us know where you would rate them. Do you agree with where I put them as far as like easy, medium, difficult, or will you shift them around some? Again, the idea is to help traders out there find books that are appropriate for the level that they're currently at. And also, if you have a favorite book that I did not mention, there are many that didn't make the cut, and I feel so sad about that. Type it in below. That way we can just kind of build this resource list that you guys can go to as you're looking to do some continued education this winter. So hope you enjoyed the show. Hit that like button before you go. Follow if you are new. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. You should be subscribed. What are you doing? Why are you not subscribed? Do you hate me? Do you hate me? I think you hate me if you don't subscribe. Please do it. I don't want to feel hated. And I'll see you guys next episode. Until then, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.